Hi, and welcome to this training video on how to serve beverages in a cupless race. So as an aid station member, one of the most important things you're going to do is serve water and electrolytes and so forth to the runners. And we'll have lots of choices. Water, of course, we'll have a product called Tailwind, which is a popular electrolyte drink. And we'll have some other things at the campsite as well. So first of all, let's talk about where it all comes from. The water is supplied by Culligan. We'll arrange, I'll work with the aid station coordinator, the food and beverage coordinator. We'll arrange a delivery right before race day. They'll bring us like 100 gallons of water. This is a typical 5-gallon. They'll bring a few of these, but most of what they're going to bring are 3-gallon. And the reason is, this is only 3/4 full and it's still pretty heavy. So the 3-gallon are much easier to manage and just easier to get around. We have to get them in the middle of the woods, so we'll have a bunch of those. So pretend, for the sake of this video, pretend this is a 3-gallon water jug. It's about this tall in reality. So water will be available at all the aid stations. Tailwind, this electrolyte drink, will be available at the start and the finish and also the campsite. So not everyone's going to need water. A lot of people run with vests like this, with they're carrying their own water. They might have a handheld or something. They just might not need water. Might not need to stop. And that's fine, but if they do stop, we want to have, as you're entering any aid station, at least those that with a choice, we want to have your beverages first. You want to have water first. So the very first thing you see when you come in, again, this should be on the right as runners are coming into the aid station, should be a table of water. And then for the campsite, which has also offering Tailwind, then right next to that would be a Tailwind table. And then your food. So you want to have your beverages first before your food. So that's all pretty straightforward, but there is a catch. And the catch is we're just now switching to be a cupless race. This means we no longer hand out disposable cups or bottles of water. We're doing this to prevent sending over 1,000 cups and bottles to the landfill every year. So instead of that, we're going to give each runner one of these reusable, collapsible cups. It's called a speed cup. It folds up to nothing. They're very easy to run with. You can just tuck it in a pocket, or you can, some people just put this ring right around their finger and run with it that way. So it's very easy to carry with you, to pop out of your pocket and fill and drink from. Tuck it away, keep going. No waste is the key. Now there are a couple of problems or complaints when you do switch to cupless racing. So one problem is that people forget their cup. So that's just human nature. We'll try to show a little sympathy. We'll have an unadvertised stash of extra cups at each aid station for those who forget or who really need them. So they're not cheap, so we don't want to advertise that or hand them out too much. But we will have those for those who forget them. The bigger problem or the bigger complaint is that this type of running creates bottlenecks. And that's a significant worry, especially on our course where the trail is pretty narrow. It's easy to get backed up at a water table, for example. So remember that in most races, runners are coming up on a table that's filled with bottles or cups of water. They just pick it up and go. Some of them don't even stop. So people are just flying through the aid station. But here you have to come, you have to stop, pull out your cup, and take the time to fill it. Now it can be very quick, but if anything goes wrong or one person has to stop and wait and you got 20 people arriving, then it does become an issue. So the way we mitigate that, and the industry best practice, is to use pitchers. So you'll be using pitchers of water and Tailwind to fill these cups and to avoid the bottlenecks and to keep things moving. So those working the drink table, and you'll need at least one person dedicated to this, maybe two. Certainly if you at the campsite where you have water and Tailwind, you'll definitely need at least 2 people doing this. You have to stay on top of this by keeping your pitchers filled with filled with water or tailwind, as the case may be. You don't want someone coming up to your station, holding their cup out, and your pitcher's empty, and you got to go looking around, and then you got to fill your pitcher, and then everybody's backing up. So you want to be on top of that. Anytime there's a lull in the action, you want to top off your water, your pitcher, and you can do that for water. You can just pour directly from one of these 3-gallon jugs. You could fill it from one of the dispensers, which I'll show you in a second. For tailwind, you'll pretty much have to fill it from the valve of the cooler where the tailwind is coming from. So very important point for the campsite and also for the start and finish line is to keep the water and the tailwind separate. So I already mentioned at the campsite we need to have separate tables. So as you enter the campsite, there's a water table, there's a tailwind table. The tailwind is not colored, so it looks just like water. But the worst thing, it's not very pleasant when a runner comes, takes a gulp of water, and it's some super sweet electrolyte drink. So we need to keep them separate. We need to be very, very clear on what beverage is being offered at any station. So we'll do that in 2 ways. One is just a bunch of signs. At the campsite, you'll have a banner like this that you can tape to your table, your tailwind table. Let's see, we also have stickers on the coolers. It even tells you what flavor it comes in. And on the pitcher itself, again, they look identical, so we'll have stickers on the pitchers of tailwind, and they'll be at a separate table to keep them straight. So that's one way to do it, but probably more importantly is as each group of runners is approaching, you need to call out, you need to be very clear and vocalize what you're serving. So even if it's just water, so just be very clear, we only have water is what you want to say, or water only, something like that, because they might not know what you're serving. And at the campsite, you definitely have to do that. You have to say, all right, water only here. And the next person will be saying tailwind, come down here for tailwind, that sort of thing, just to keep it straight. Now you won't be serving everyone. Like I said, some will have their own, some won't need a drink, and some will opt for the self-serve option. So for water, there's 2 options there. So at the start and the finish, we're going to have tower water coolers. So pretty much what you would see in an office. So I don't have one here, but they're about this tall. The way you fill them is and for these, it's okay to use the 5-gallon jugs if you want. They last longer. You pull this tab, pull it around, pull the seal off, and then just dump the whole thing upside down into the top reservoir of the cooler. I'm sure you've probably done that before. They don't have to be plugged in to work. It's not really a cooler. We're just using it as a dispenser. Some notes about that, those towers, they are kind of top heavy, so and they can be unstable, so they have to be on a flat, stable surface. So that's why we're not putting them in the woods, for example. We're only using them at the start line, where if we can put them on pavement or on a sidewalk, or at the very least we can put some pavers down or something to give it a nice stable surface. And also the finish line for the same thing. So that's where we'll use those. And another note about the start line, the finish line, again, this is more for the food and beverage coordinator than the aid station teams, because that person will be manning the start and finish line. That person will set up the water and the tailwind at the start. That's completely self-service, so there's no pitchers there or anything like that. We'll have a couple of dispensers, which again I'll show you in a second. We'll have a cooler of tailwind set up at a table. After the start, that person, that coordinator, will take all that down. They'll take the top or the bottle off of the dispenser. I'm sure you'll lose a little bit, that's okay. And then you'll drain the dispenser so it's dry, so that you can transport all of this, including whatever's left of tailwind in the cooler. You'll transport all that to the finish line and set it up in the finisher tent. So we'll just take our leftovers there and serve it there. And again, that's the food and beverage coordinator does that job. So in addition to serving from the pitchers, all the aid stations will serve water from a tabletop angled stand like this one. So I'll tell you how to set that up right now. So again, pretend this is a 3-gallon jug, and the first thing you're going to do is fit it with one of these valves. So when it's on there, it's just like the valve on the cooler. You press this button in, it'll probably be like this. You press this and water comes out, and that's your self-serve option. So the way you get that on here, first, any standard water jug is going to have this seal here. So you pull that off all the way around. Take all the parts off. Now you want to fit your valve on, and it's very easy. So just make sure it's loose, and it's just like, you know, righty tighty, lefty loosey. So counterclockwise, make sure it's all the way open. Then you just fit it on top. You really don't press it down, because what you're going to do now is screw it a couple of turns to the right. You don't want to go too crazy here, because it is just plastic and you don't want to break anything. So when you're ready, just turn it upside down. Bring this to the front of your table. And again, the 3-gallon jugs fit in this a little bit better, but I'm showing you the 5-gallon. And then again, the self-serve option, people will come up to it and serve themselves by filling their cup. And the cups stand up on their own, by the way. And you can also use this to fill your pitchers as you need it, or like I said, you can pour directly from the 3-gallon jugs. So another thing to keep in mind as you're serving from pitchers is to make sure you're not blocking access to the self-serve option. So you probably want to be, if you have the pitcher, you might want to be out in front, you know, greeting people as they're arriving, offering to pour. That's still the fastest option. And if for some reason, you know, a group of 20 people show up all at once, and you know, people are lining up for you to pour water, just remind them they can go around you and come to the self-serve station. Not everybody will know to do that, but again, that'll be very quick process. Now, when this is empty, you take it apart just in reverse. Very easy. You would stand this up, twist off the valve. It pops right off, and then you get another one, and you're good to go. All right, so Tailwind is a little different. Tailwind is an electrolyte drink, and you're going to mix it with 5 gallons of water to 1 bag of Tailwind. The bag will either be like this or the bulk bag like this. In the bulk bag, it does, in the fine print, it does have the flavor. So this is mandarin orange, and this is raspberry. The raspberry is caffeinated, so you might want to pay attention to that. Some people coming through, they want to know if the electrolyte is caffeinated or not. So I'm not sure which kind you'll get, but it'll say on the package in case anybody asks. And what you'll do is, we do have a couple of larger 5-gallon jugs that will be at the campsite, and also at the start and finish line where the Tailwind will be mixed. So that's the easiest and most convenient way. So it's just 1 bottle of water, 1 bag of this mixed in a cooler. And we'll give you a mixing spoon or something to mix it all up, so you don't have to use a dirty stick. You probably want to put, I don't know, half of the water in there, then dump the Tailwind in, and then stir it all up and dissolve it, and then put the rest of the water in. And then from there, they'll just serve right from the tap. Okay, so one last note, and it's an exception actually to the Cupless Racing rule, and that is at the campsite, we're also going to be serving hot chocolate and hot apple cider, and neither of which, especially the hot chocolate, lends itself well to these cups. And it's not the temperature that's the problem. The cups can handle that. But there's 2 problems. One is you're going to burn your hand if you're holding it, for one. But probably the bigger problem is your cup is going to be covered with hot chocolate gunk for the rest of the race. So you go to the next aid station and you're looking for water, and you've got all this crap floating around, remnants from your hot chocolate or apple cider in your cup. So you just don't want to mix the two. The cup should just be for water and electrolytes. So the way we're getting around that is we will have cups, hot cups for those purposes, for those two beverages. Now, in keeping with our goal of environmental stewardship, those cups will be biodegradable, unlike your typical disposable cups. Oh, so the hot chocolate itself is going to come in packets, and it's going to be self-serve. We'll have cups, we'll have spoons for them to stir it up. And the hot apple cider, again, you're going to have a camp stove that you're going to bring, and you're going to heat up the hot apple cider. You're going to heat up hot water, and you're going to serve that somehow from some sort of camp pot and off the camp stove. So those are the details I'll work out with the aid station coordinator to make sure we have the right equipment to cover all of those. And when it comes to putting people at different spots at the campsite in particular, I would suspect that a single person could handle the hot beverage station. So one person is probably enough to keep the water going, to keep the hot water filled, to keep the stove going, and to keep the hot apple cider hot and ready for runners. So that's it. That's how all these dispensers work. That's your various options for water, for Tailwind, for our hot drinks. The serving beverages is one of the most important things you'll do at the aid stations. It's a safety issue. People need hydration to make it to the end of the race. It's a comfort thing. You don't need hot chocolate to make it through a race, but it's a nice break for runners. So thank you for volunteering. I hope you have a good time, and cheers.